Hi, I've just finished watching Carry On Columbus, which was the last of the Carry On films that I hadn't seen. It was produced after a 14-year gap after the last film, Carry On Emmanuel, in 1978, and was one of three films released in 1982, major films at least, intended to tie in with the 500th anniversary of Columbus landing in America. The other two, Ridley Scott's 1492 Conquest of Paradise and Christopher Columbus The Discovery, were both flops. So it's interesting to note that Carry On Columbus actually did better at the box office only because it was so much cheaper. It's loosely a retelling of the story as we know it. Columbus gaining support in Spain to travel to the New World, the East Indies, and finding America along the way, making a deal with the indigenous people and traveling back to Europe. We have some of the classic Carry On participants. Columbus himself is played by Jim Dale. June Whitfield and Leslie Phillips play the Queen and King of Spain. There's a cameo by John Pertwee. Bernard Cribbins has a supporting role as the navigator. But most of the other main cast is actually filled out with newer alternative comedians. Peter Richardson, Alexei Sayle, Julian Clary, cameos by Rick Mayall and Nigel Planer, and many others. Um, the film is not good, but I would hesitate to call it bad. Even though it was apparently the most expensive Carry On film, largely because of the amount of time that had passed since the series had finished, the sets look incredibly cheap. A lot of the time, just bare walls. Um, the opening scene, for example, in the Turkish Sultan's palace, it looks like Horrible Histories, except it looks like a very cheap version of Horrible Histories, with absolute bare minimum of set. It looks like a school's program. It's so cheap looking. There is a small amount of location footage shot at Frensham Ponds in Surrey, so not actually at sea. And there is stock footage of a ship used to stand in for Columbus's ship. He only has one ship in the movie, another signification of budget cuts. Another issue is that the script was apparently written in a tearing hurry. Dave Freeman, who'd written some of the later Carry On films, returns, as do the producer and director, Gerald Thomas and Peter Rogers from the previous series. But Freeman only had about 10 days to write a script, and as a result, a lot of it is very weak. There are one or two gags that are amusing, but usually based on mishearings and puns. 50-50 gags, as Mischief Theatre Company calls them, where you mishear something as much ruder than it really is. Um, but really, given time, this could have been a better movie. It's not terrible by any means. There are worse Carry On films, certainly. Carry On Emmanuel is gruesome. This is just a bit weak. It could have been better. It could have been really quite passable. And it's a pity that there simply wasn't the resources given to it or the confidence shown in it to give it a real chance. It makes me wonder whether or not a Carry On film could work now. Now that we would be using a completely new set of actors and completely new creative team, whether or not they'd be able to include the same kind of humor or make it feel of a piece with the previous films. I think probably not, but based on this as an example, it really wouldn't hurt to have a go.